Should we get started? Should we do a little intro?
Hi, I am Kip. Miko has invited me on here today, lovely as she is and talented as she is, to talk about bug Pokemon. As a background, I do small-time content creation, which I'm hoping to get bigger. I actually released a new Halo 3 thing today, which I was super happy about how it turned out. But my background in Pokemon, I played it for, 2003 on, I think. It's hard to remember. I remember my dad taking me to Best Buy and buying Fire Red. Since then, it's just been kind of going on and on. I am a Pokemon professor. I did pass the test for both VGC and TCG, obviously due to certain, things, events, macro events that
quickly
happened.
Explain what a Pokemon professor is for everyone who doesn't know?
Yeah, so effectively what that is that you have to pass tests with Pokemon. And so there's actually 3 certs that you can do for it specifically. And you can either be like the store owner, you can either be TCG, which is trading card game, like the card game like packs you buy, stuff like that. You can either be certified for that as well, or alternatively, VGC, which is what I'm most familiar with. That's where you play the video games. That's where you effectively raise IV, EV, train, all that jazz. And not everyone is a Pokemon professor. So when you go to a store, you see like the judges and stuff. Those are professors. They're part of the Pokemon Professor program, and they're the ones that help events run smoothly, catch cheaters where they can, right? So if someone shows up and they have like a hard-hacked Golisopod with like 252 in every stat, which is physically impossible by the constraints of the game, I'm there to do that. The system does handle a lot of things such as how game losses are done, but also like someone's being just super rude to people, right? That's also why I am there as well, to help kind of mitigate that.
We're doing a bug Pokemon tier list. For those of you who don't know, my profession specifically is I'm an arachnologist. My specific degree is in ecology, but I specialize in entomology and arachnology. I am just about done with my master's degree studying arachnids. I've been working mostly on identifying spiders and understanding their larger ecological role, and I specifically work within endangered habitat. But as I've grown into my professional role as an academic, I've really gotten into science communication. And this is actually the first time I have merged my science academic sort of identity with my stream identity, because so far it's felt like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Like I have these two different people inside me, but I've gotten to meet a lot of wonderful people within the game studies world of academia, which for those of you who don't know, you can legitimately study video games. Like that is a thing you can do. And I want to specifically credit Dr. Kishana Gray, who does amazing work specifically looking at like being Black in gaming and POC in gaming. So shout out to Dr. Kishana Gray. But she really showed me that those two identities can be one. I love video games. And when I found out I could merge my love of science and video games, that's been like everything fell into place. And I think Pokemon specifically is the perfect synthesis of that, because I'm specifically interested in understanding the influence of video games on people's perceptions of biology or appreciation for the natural world. And as we all know, like Pokemon is extremely representative of the natural world. And more recently, I've seen Pokemon bring biological, like real biological concepts into the games. There was one that was just in the news. It was, I think, the idea of convergent evolution. And it's literally, I think they literally called it like convergent variants or something like that. I'll have to look it up. But that gets me really excited to see video games putting these things in front of people and familiarizing people with these concepts. But I know there's a lot of people hesitant about like letting, especially like young kids, dive headfirst into the world of like electronics and video games. But video games made me the entomologist and arachnologist I am today. So I think they're super important. That's my plug for video games. Yeah, I looked a little bit about bug-type Pokemon. Bug-type Pokemon get a lot of shit. I'm gonna say that now. Sorry, please censor that, Tosh, when we put this this in a video. Bug type Pokemon, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kip, are historically like the weakest type. They have the most like anti-types.
Generally, yes, bug types are the weakest, as they are seen in the game design philosophy of Pokemon, specifically as the starter tutorial. This is how you Pokemon. Gen 1, they saw almost no usage. They were only effective against Psychic, but in Gen 1 specifically, Psychic was just so utterly broken. There was niche use for, I think, one, and that was it. And bug types just have gotten really just poor representation over the years. That being said, there are some really good bug types out there. Golisopod is actually one of my personal favorites. I forget what he's based off of specifically, but the giant, just samurai, hard shell, I'm just gonna like crush you with claws, that kind of thing. 100%, and they have their niche cases. Mega Heracross, for example, was a huge meta threat. I think he is the only bug type with Skill Link, because Cloyster's the other big Skill Link user. But now that we don't have Megas, I mean, it's a moot point. Anyway, yeah, they're underrepresented, really, really bad.
And this is exactly why I brought you on, for all of those facts that specifically relate to like in-game stats and stuff. I also heard that up through a certain generation, some bug type Pokemon didn't even learn bug type moves naturally. Like you had to use TMs. Which,
if that was the case, that'd be Gen 2 or 3 specifically. I can definitely look at those.
Yeah.
Because that sounds right.
Which just blows my mind, that bug types like don't even get love from the game devs like themselves, making them, you know, part of the meta. I know we talked a little bit about how some of these bug types have become elevated over the years so that they can become meta, but like initially they just had no place, especially within the competitive scene.
Right, I would say it was until Gen 3 was probably when we started seeing a little bit of oomph to certain bug types, one specific, which we'll get into when we get there. But really, like the first 3 generations, you had to know what you were doing.
Right. But the crazy thing about all of this is too, and for those of you who don't know this history, Pokemon exists because of bugs. The original creator of Pokemon was inspired by collecting bugs to create the game. Okay, so Caterpie. We got number 1, Caterpie.
Right.
I'll give you the floor to talk about Caterpie stat-wise, and then we can go into like the real world Caterpie.
Now that I'm able to pull up its base stats, it's pitiable. Total of 195, its speed and HP at 45. You know, and that's the peak stats. It's nothing to really write home about. If you're looking at like a move set potentially, it does learn bug moves, so that's the good news. At least recently in Gen 1 specifically, it knew String Shot and Tackle, and that was all. That was a one-trick pony Caterpie.
Okay, so I put my Caterpie in D tier, and my chat is already upset.
Gasp.
Okay, so I think in terms of playing the game, Caterpie is definitely D tier, definitely starter. Like Kip said, not a ton you can do with the Caterpie. It's just there for you to get acclimated to the game. Mm-hmm. And I combine that with my thoughts on Caterpie IRL. So Caterpie is actually based off of a swallowtail caterpillar. I'll just type this in right now. It's
what is that?
Canadensis larvae.
Oh, I've seen this thing. Yeah, there's a lot of videos on it when I was a kid, as far as like the Nat Geo and stuff.
Yeah, I would say swallowtails are kind of overrated. Okay, Metapod. I feel like Metapod's B tier.
Metapod is the absolute just unit. Like this man, I say this man because that's how I just meme at this point. But Metapod is like the Giga Chad, if you ask me. Because
okay,
like, if we look at his stat block, look at that 205.
I was literally like, swallowtails are boomer cringe. I'm not gonna say any more on that. Someone's gonna clip it, and then I'm gonna get roasted on butterfly Twitter.
Metapod is in no relevant tier in Smogon at all. I was curious. Base 205 has like a 55 speed. It's not nothing, especially early game when they can spam hard. So I gotta give it B. I gotta give it B. Being pretty janky.
I feel confident though in putting Metapod in B tier. That's just a Chad Pokemon. Like, it's not meta. Well, it is meta.
It's Metapod.
Metapod's based. B tier for based.
I don't know. I still gotta give it to based Caterpie. It's like based Caterpie, and then you have like the meta hyphen pod.
Okay, we got Butterfree next.
So base, you know, if we go into like just Pokemon up, I prefer it. I know a lot of people prefer Celebi. I just use this specifically. Compound Eyes is actually really fucking good. Increases accuracy as a base ability. I think there's a use case that you could argue for Tinted Lens. What does it do specifically? If I powers up not very effective move, potential use case, just use Compound Eyes. Really, I use Butterfree in the game. So, like for example, if you have something in like BDSP and you want to steal the Magnet off of Magnemite or something like that, you put Thief on the Butterfree with Compound Eyes, and it just makes it a little bit quicker for you. Stats-wise, that special attack at 90 is nothing to scoff at for like. And I actually really like that Butterfree got some love. So, I mean, that's probably an A tier for me with that breakdown.
Really? Okay. Well, I don't like butterflies, so I'm putting Butterfree in C tier. It gets points for utility in the game, but I don't like butterflies, so C tier. Fight me. Next on our list is Weedle. Okay, so Weedle, in this line of like evolutions, it's supposed to be a bee. I think these look more like wasps, and now that I'm looking at it, all of its feet are driving me crazy because I'm like, no bug has. Well, there could be Pseudopodia. Okay, so Pseudopoda. Pseudopodia? I don't remember. Pseudopods? Okay. So you got your real feet, and you got your fake feet. We've got the head right here, this little black head. And then next would be the thorax. So we know these are the real feet because that is the thorax. And then these are the Pseudopodia. I don't know.
Weedle is like, I'm looking at the stats right now in terms of, it's gonna be booty, like straight up. 195, 50 speed is actually kind of neat, I guess, like early game, because I mean, it's going towards that bee/wasp evolution, so I mean, it's gonna be a little bit faster. The only like redeeming thing is its little eyes. The fact that its nose can sometimes look like a mouth, and then it has this little stinger, which I usually just Photoshop it as a party hat. So party hat Weedle gets like, I don't know, it's hard to really justify him anything other than F, but I do love him for party hat Weedle meme.
I think I will put Weedle in D tier with Caterpie. Topper has spoken.
Party hat Weedle based Caterpie. I need this as a meme now.
Based. Okay, now we have Kakuna.
Yep. Let's get your expertise on Kakuna first while I'm pulling the things.
I will pull up a picture of like the pupa. That's what Metapod and Kakuna are based off of, as pupal stages of insects. And the pupa stage does change over time because of course your insect is changing. Okay, yes. So Beedrill. I'm conflicted that Beedrill is called Beedrill and looks more like a wasp.
We'll start with regular Beedrill and we'll slowly move on to like Mega Beedrill. That'll be like Beedrill subsection A.
I guess my thing to say about bees here, a common misconception with a lot of bees, and my bug people know this already, but there's a lot of emphasis on honeybees, and actually a lot of places that'll be like, save the bees, buy our products, it'll save the bees. It typically only supports honeybees. Honeybees are non-native to the United States. They're actually from Europe.
Fascinating.
Yeah, they're not supposed to be here. And it kind of remains to be seen, like their impact ecologically on other bees. Wasps get a bad rap. I know everyone's like, fuck wasps. Wasps hate everyone. But wasps do have their place. And I think wasps are a really, really cool group of insects because They're so diverse. They're actually thought to be maybe the most diverse group of animals on the planet.
We'll talk base beetle. The base beetle is kind of just meh. Attack 90, I mean, nothing to write home about. I mean, sure, it's in a good tier, but everything else is kind of garbage. If you sneeze at it with a physical flying attack, it's gonna die. I'll put base Beedrill in like, I was gonna say B tier, probably like C tier, just because like I like its design. All
I think
here
I
for
agree
it.
with that. I had mine in B tier because I like wasps, but I forgot we have like Mega Beedrill again. All right, so now we got Mega Beedrill.
Yes, this is the powerhouse, and actually, arguably, in your question of is this meta, let's just say in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, in that specific game, it is really fucking good. Like, really good. Stat-wise, 150 attack is absolutely monstrous. 145 base speed is monstrous. Papa Jolly on that, you're gaining 1 plus 10% rounded down. So you're getting another 14 speed on that. So that makes it like 159.
A lot of people will draw bees or wasps with only 2 wings. Bees and wasps have 4. So please draw your bees, right?
I'm putting Mega in A. I think its utility is there and stuff like that to kind of wrap off on the thing.
I have it in B tier. I think like after hearing you talk about its utility and functionality in the competitive scene, I think there it belongs in A, but again, wasp Pokemon called B. This is me putting it in B tier out of spite for being called
I think that's
B.
totally valid.
These next 2 that we have, Paras and Parasect, are really exciting because we get to talk about Cordyceps fungi. Kip, have you heard of Cordyceps?
Yes,
okay.
I have.
Cordyceps is a fungus that essentially takes over an insect's body and eats the insect from the inside out. And so Paras and Parasect are victims of this Cordyceps fungi. Well, I don't know in the Pokemon world if they've even named this fungi.
Hold up, I can save you on this. Mushroom's named Tochukaso, Tochukaso, so Japanese in origin. Grow on its back. They grow along with the host Paras. So it is named.
Tochukaso spores are attached to Paras eggs, causing hatchlings to be doused in them upon birth. As the Paras grows, so do the Tochukaso. The Tochukaso orders its host to suck nutrients from tree roots and trunks, then absorbs most of the nutrition itself. When Paras evolves into Parasect, the Tochukaso takes complete control of the host and does all the thinking. So this does mimic Cordyceps, almost 1 for 1.
Where do you rate Paras itself? I mean, it seems pretty accurate.
Do your take on stats, and then maybe that'll help me.
So with Paras specifically, it actually has an interesting attack stat. Like, it's got a 70 base attack stat. That's kind of nutty. Because the ones we've seen prior, right? I mean, like, you're having Beedrill max out its attack stat at 90. Paras itself has a base attack stat of 70. I think Paras itself, because we have to move on to Parasect in a minute. Paras itself is probably C for me. Like, I like the design. I like that, the eyes make it cute, but they're also like insect eyes, because you look at it like, oh, those are insect eyes. As well as it being lore heavy, as well as education rich, if that makes sense.
I think it's cute. It is a first evolution, so I think I will put it before Butterfree in my C tier, and then Parasect I will put behind Mega Beedrill.
Wait, were we doing Parasect or are we straight up?
Oh, Parasect. Oh, sorry. I like totally lumped them together because Parasect is like the zombie mode.
Right. Actually, so looking at it, it actually has some cool effects here. So it has effects for obviously. I think we're all aware of that from the older generations. And then we also have Damp, which actually is kind of like meta for like probably a Nuzlocke. Like, let's be real. So like you run into like a random Reggie or something like that because this is Pokemon randomizers and Nuzlocks. Damp, prevent explosion and self-destruct. Do you know how many runs this could save? Base 95 attack is also pretty beefy. Speed 30.
I think I'm gonna move Parasect to A tier because Parasect is fucking Sigma Chad.
I'm moving it to A. Like, the more I'm looking on this, I'm like, holy shit, there's potential here.
That is one I did not expect to make A tier during this stream, I'm not gonna lie.
Nope. Thought it was gonna be straight D or C. Alright, Miko, I know you're excited about the Veno series. Tell us the things.
Okay, so I actually had like no clue what Venonat was based off of,
Uh-huh.
because there's no bug that looks like that, and it's clearly not based off of a gnat, and it turns into a moth-like Pokemon, but moth
Mhm.
larvae don't look like that. But Venonat, someone suggested it was based off of a gnome.
You got gnomed gnome?
Yeah, but like I hate
Yeah.
gnomes. Like I don't like stereotypical gnomes. If gnomes looked like Venonat, I would put them in my front yard. All right, so I think Venonat's F tier at this point.
Actually, probably the best stat pool we've seen out of a not Mega, because Mega Beedrill obviously being the exception here. Mega Beedrill's fucking insane. 305 base stat pool, 60 HP. Pretty even across the board, actually. Special attack being the least.
Okay.
D tier.
In terms of like the moth that inspires Venomoth, well, this one person thinks it looks like Arctiidae. I disagree. I don't know what specific one. Well, I guess I can kind of see it.
I can kind of see it.
Yeah, I think it is D tier, probably behind Kakuna.
So would you like the competitive analysis?
Really quick, I'm gonna read through what Bulbapedia says. As a nocturnal Pokemon, Venomoth comes out at night to hunt for its favorite prey. It prefers to feed on insects that gather around light sources, and Venomoth is attracted to bright lights itself. Moths don't eat other bugs. Like, let's just get that out of the way.
Aren't
like,
they herbivores?
Yeah, so some moths like don't even eat because their lifespan is like too short. And in terms of like being attracted to light, moths don't like light because it's light. They think it's moonlight because moths use light, like moonlight, to navigate. Okay, enough about Venomoth, because Venomoth itself is boring. I put it at the end of D tier, not memorable, and it's not scary like Venonat. It's
What if I
just
told
bland.
you?
Oh, I forgot the stats. What's going on with Venomoth?
It has base 450 total stats, 90 special attack, and 90 speed, which I did misquote it earlier. Rayquaza is at a 95 in terms of speed tier. In terms of what it learns Bug Buzz, which is really good. It learns Quiver Dance, which is one of the best boosting moves in the game. A solid B tier for me, being completely honest. Like, it's cool.
Really?
I think it's actually kind of neat. A little bit more competitive, quote unquote, utility as far as to how you could say like a Nuzlocke or something casual like that. It looks cool.
That's
Next
fine.
up, we got Scyther. What you got for us?
People say that Scyther is based off of like praying mantises, especially because praying mantises, their arms are what we call raptorial. The way that they're utilized is they, are extended grab. That's how they eat their prey. That's pretty much the purpose of those arms. And so here, when we look at Scyther, it's not necessarily like mimicking those raptorial arms, but I see the parallels. Scyther also has like some oddly reptilian traits. It's just like a very odd design. I think it's a neat design. I just like, I want to know what that person was thinking when they designed it. Also, I know we don't have it in the tier list, but there's also the Arceus Scyther.
Right. We do have Claw or Cleaver down at the bottom. It's the the total stat pool of Scyther is 500. Respectable. It's not necessarily end game.
I guess let's just lump them together, even though it's at the ends. Cleaver's like maybe end of C tier.
I'm giving Scyther B. Like, from the
Scyther
set I'm
B?
seeing, that's bulky. It's Swords Dance, Roost, U-Turn, Air Release. That thing with Eviolite.
I think I'll put Scyther in A tier above Parasect. But I don't think it's S tier.
I'm gonna put it in B. I'm not super
Cleaver?
into the design of Cleaver.
I'm not either. It doesn't have any like thematics to it. Okay. Pinsir. We've had a lot of opinions on Pinsir, and Pinsir is based off of it's not a Hercules beetle.
Oh no, it's Stag Beetle, right? Hercules.
Oh, it is. Is it Stag Beetle? I can't remember the colloquial name. Yes. Okay. So.
In terms of stats, it is an absolute. It's base 500, so same as Scyther. Absolute monster at 125. Defense is at 100. Speed 85. 85 is actually a pretty respectable speed tier. It's not best, especially power creep, but it's 85 is not bad. I'd probably rate him over Scyther. I'd probably put him in like A tier for me personally, just for base. In terms of Mega, that's where we start getting into interesting territories. Mega Pinsir is pop over here. Mega Pinsir, because it gets flying type. Aerialate, so normal type moves become flying type. Its attack stat goes through the roof, gets a 100-point bonus to all of its stats.
Where are you putting Pinsir?
I'm putting an S.
S?
The meme, the JoJo meme that you just mentioned, as well as like the utility on this thing, I'm kind of thinking S.
I think I'm gonna put Pinsir in A tier next to Scyther. I don't know if it should go before or after Scyther. What are you thinking?
I mean, does Scyther have JoJo memes?
You're right, Scyther does not have JoJo memes. This does feel like a 4-part tier list. Pinsir is not F tier, Topper. You are wrong. The tier is law. I
put base Pinsir in A because I'm biased. Mega Pinsir S.
Really?
Like it had to earn that spot in the BBC Earth, BBC Earth video. Yeah.
I think I would put Mega Pinsir in B tier, just my personal feelings on it. There's not really much of an opinion there. I just am not a Mega Pinsir person.
Right, and I think that's a valid point to come across. Absolutely. I think
this woman is insane. Valid. I'm appalled. Oh my